Hello, everyone. Welcome to this new episode of Monte Talks. For your host today, we will have Shimon Litzau and me, Jacob, joining from Monterail. And we also have a very special guest today, and we will be talking a lot about Nuxt. And our today special guest is Sebastian Chopin, the author of Nuxt and the CTO of NuxtLabs. And so, Sebastian, I already introduced you in some titles, let's say, but maybe if you'd like to share a bit more about you, about your story, and basically also what motivated you to create Nuxt in the first place.
Hey everyone, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and tell some stuff that maybe I haven't shared before. So like Jacob said, I'm Sebastian Chopin. I'm a web developer since I was 12 years old. I started with PHP. I stopped PHP, I think, around 19 years old, uh, and discovered Node.js. Then I fell in love with JavaScript. I was doing some JavaScript with PHP back then when I wanted to do some Ajax call. So I was a big fan of avoiding reloading the page, and I think it at the end led me to building Nuxt because I still hate seeing a page being reloaded. Even though I like the work from other frameworks, it drives me crazy. And as well, having server-side rendering and search engine optimization has been something that was very important for me when I was working on an e-commerce website, and being able to merge this SEA experience and server-side rendering for SEO was uh, was just a relief. It happened to me in 2016 when I was working on e-commerce websites with Node.js, Vue.js too, with server-side rendering, and it was working very well. I had to manage a webpack configuration, which was actually very um, hard to do, honestly. And I saw the announcement by Vercel about Next.js in October 2016. I was following Guillermo for his work about Socket.io, Mongoose. I had a blog called atinuxt.fr back then, where I was writing French article. They are not there anymore about Node.js, MongoDB, Elasticsearch, all this stack that was not popular in the Europe back then. And I like to talk about Socket.io and others. So naturally, I discovered Next.js and it just clicked this history of PHP, pages, system, uh, SPA. I was doing with Backbone.js before, then Vue, server-side rendering, e-commerce. I was like, yeah, let's do the same for the community. Uh, and naturally, Vue, the U, Next led me to Nuxt, and it was available on NPM and GitHub. So I gave myself this challenge, and a week later, I had a first prototype working, and then people from the Vue community noticed it and started talking about it. And yeah, here we are today, 9 years after talking about it. I was not expecting this, and I'm happy about how it turned out.
So, if I can jump on this and ask a follow question, because you said that you created this first prototype, what was Next back then? What was like the version that you called like ready for, let's say, testing or ready for
Yeah.
early adoption for feedback? What was included in it, and what was, for example, in your mind to build upon later on?
So I think you can find the commits. I think it was a week later, so end of October. Uh, my main goal was to have a CLI. So it was good because I was inspired by Next. So the spec was simple. You need a command to run the dev server. So back then it was only Nuxt command. So a CLI, and you needed to have pages. And luckily, in the Vue community, we had Vue and the Vue router. So all I had to do was to kind of read the file system. So as I had a background with Node.js, I was familiar with the Node.js API. So I was reading the file system, and where it was tricky compared to Next.js, so I read the source code of Next and went in the opposite direction as them. For them, they had their own routing system. I found the solution during the night that what if we read the file system, your directory structure, and we generate the final file that will be used and imported by the app. So that's how we created this .nuxt directory. So if you have a Nuxt project, I highly recommend you to check out the .nuxt directory. You will find all of the final files of your application. And I was generating this .nuxt/router.js, which was basically the Vue router file generated. And yeah, pages directory, no dynamic routes, index.view, about.view, server-side rendering, no webpack.config, just a CLI. And that was the first prototype where I was confident enough to share publicly.
Do you remember what was the initial feedback you got from other people and from the community? Was it very positive, or was it it needs a bit more polishing?
It was actually positive because the Vue community is so kind. And I was so happy to get a first issue because that meant someone actually tested it. And he had, I think it was an idea, but I couldn't remember. I would need to check it out. But it was pretty positive, and that's actually what kept us also motivated in doing this project. And I remember having my brother Alexander Chopin, who was working on a static site generator. So he was working with Hexo, and for him, he was onto static sites, so Jekyll like websites. And he was like, "Oh, but could you also do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think it's going to be very easy. We have the server-side rendering, so we kind of need to have a step where we run the server, code the page, take the HTML and save it as an HTML page. And Nuxt Generate was born, I think, a week later. And I remember we were at the Vue.js meetup in Paris. I think it was end of 2016. Evanu was there because he had a talk at the .js, and he was at the front row. And we presented Nuxt and then the Nuxt Generate command, and he was like, interesting. And I think few months later, we had this Vue Press documentation generator as static pages. So I think we were definitely the first one being a static site generator based on the Vue file or components. So that's I'm quite happy to have landed this feature early.
I think it's kind of interesting that at some point there was a lot of movement around static site generators who are only static site generators. But right now, for example, there was Gatsby, right? There was I don't know, I don't remember the one in Vue, but basically there were solutions specifically for static site generation. While right now, both Nuxt and Next can do it for you because they utilize the server-side rendering. So you somehow, let's say, predicted the future of what will be popular and what will be used, and you developed it from the beginning.
I think on the Vue part, it was called a grid sum.
Grid,
like
yes.
grid, yeah. And I kind of liked it, but for me, having the ability to have a server running was always going to be more powerful, while having the ability still to serve static files. So that's why I'm very excited about this hybrid rendering, being able to serve static if it's needed, but also being able to know that you may want to regenerate the page and always serve static files. So, yeah, but they were also great frameworks, and we inspired each other. So.
Great. Shimon, so maybe I'll pass the voice to you because I know you have a question about the newest version of Nuxt.
Yeah, so on the note of maybe moving towards current times and keeping in mind the recent Nuxt 4 release, what can we expect from Nuxt 4 going forward? Because Nuxt 4 wasn't like such a big bang, giant leap. It was more gradual. So like, what can we expect now for Nuxt 5 and the future?
Yeah. So that's a good question, and I'm quite happy that Nuxt 4 was not a big bang, because the next 2 to Nuxt 3 that was painful. We want to have like a major that you want to upgrade and have a good feeling of upgrading. We have many ideas, and what I love the most about Nuxt is that we can work with these plugins. We call it modules ecosystem. And the way we define Nuxt core within Nuxt 2 and then Nuxt 3, a module can replace functionalities of Nuxt itself. So we can morph Nuxt into the framework we want based on modules. And it depends, because we're a core team and we have all different projects, and even Jacob has a module. We're experimenting through modules, and based on the popularity of them and the usage, we are thinking of making them a core module or directly part of the framework by default. On my side, I'm working on the full stack part of Nuxt. As like I told you, I used to do a lot of Node.js, MongoDB database. I want to push this part. I don't want it to be like Laravel, because Laravel is for PHP, and I think I love the way they do stuff, but I don't feel it that natural on the at least on the Nuxt side. So right now I was working on Nuxt Hub, which was allowing you to create full stack application on Cloudflare. Since the acquisition with Vercel, my goal is to make the Nuxt Hub module agnostic, so you can have a database working outside of Cloudflare, same for the blob, etc. And the last weeks I've been working on extracting the database part that is going to be Nuxt DB. And same, it would be a module that you can use, almost zero configuration. You just choose your dialect. We handle the migration through Drizzle Kit, but you have a CLI, Nuxt DB migrate, Nuxt DB generate, and we handle the migration before pushing to production. Same in development, very, very exciting. I cannot wait to finish the documentation and announce it. And it will be the same for the blob part, probably Next Drive. We're still thinking about the naming. So giving this full stack part as plugins, and see how people can use them. On the other side, we have Nuxt Hints that was released today, if I'm not mistaken, or yesterday. I was off yesterday. It was holiday in France, and that helps you have better performance. So we are testing and see what's best by keeping also Nuxt core light and giving these extensions for you to try it out. And of course, AI. I need to say the word like many times in the video now because we're in the AI phase. But yeah, we have these LLM modules that allows you, if you have a documentation or website, to create these LLM.txt files. We have a Next MCP module in the work. We are thinking of having this agent system, but we are going step by step with testing it internally within apps and trying to give on the Nuxt directory structure, the Nuxt way of building full stack app and AI apps. This is definitely where we are at least working on, but the community is also working on stuff. So it's impossible to predict, honestly, but it will stay relevant for most developers because we are building it together.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm glad that you mentioned the Nuxt hints because I also participated in part of the development of it. So as you mentioned, it's built with the community. It's not only about the core team. It's not only about NuxtLabs, for example. It's all of us contributing in one way or another into this framework. And I'm also wanted to ask about one thing because you mentioned about full stack development. And this probably wouldn't be possible without another thing that we haven't mentioned yet, which we usually don't mention because we just say that we use Nuxt. But Nuxt under the hood uses Nitro. which was built at the same time as the Nuxt 3. It was introduced with it as well. So how, in your opinion, this like Nitro changes not only for Nuxt but also for other frameworks, how it changes the full stack development?
Yeah. We started Nitro a long time ago. We had Nitro had so many names. At one point, it was called Sigma Workstation. It started with the pain point. It always started with a pain point. The pain point was when you had a Nuxt 2 applications and you wanted to create API routes, you had to restart the whole Nuxt server, meaning the server is fine, but the build of Webpack for the client and the server part of the app, wow. I mean, like you don't want to create API routes with Nuxt 2. So we started working on something called Workstation with Puya. So we were able to have a different worker just for your server code, for your API routes. It's tricky when you say Nuxt because you have an app, Vue app, which also work on the server. So there is a server part in your app, but there is also the whole server being capable of having your API routes and then serving your Vue app. So we wanted to have this distinction where your API routes could be hot module reloaded without having to restart the whole Webpack system. So we worked on this workstation project on Nuxt 2. We had almost it working, but then we started working on Nuxt 3. I also gave the challenge to Puya, okay, I want Nuxt to be able to work within Cloudflare workers. And that was like a big challenge because it had to be, I think back then it was almost 1 megabyte, the size of the app. So this means, okay, now on top of having a server, being able to have hot module replacement on the server, we also need to bundle the app plus your server, the whole node module tracing. So the final output is like a binary. It's a minimum output directory that can be deployed in serverless platforms. Because Nuxt 2 was not supporting a serverless platform that well, because every time you started the server, we were loading the bundle of your application. And sometimes if you only need to call an API route, you don't want to load the bundle of your app just to serve an API route, mostly on serverless where you restart every time. So Nitro was also bringing code splitting at the server level. So every API route is code splitted, so it only loads the required JavaScript to serve a route. And then you have when it serves your app, the app also have code splitting. So it's like performance, bundling for the serverless and edge, and hot module replacement on the server. So it's like a big project. We had it part of Nuxt. And as our team is loves to give to the community and to the other frameworks, I think we're starting to be known of this with a different project, and NGS is also a nice project. Of all the small utils we had in Nuxt, we extracted, make them a library that can be used elsewhere. And then we have a Nitro that we decided to also use as standalone projects, but serving Nuxt at first, because that's where it was created. And now it became an amazing project that is used by other web framework. So we are collaborating all together on this. It now can be used as a Vite plugin with Nitro v3. So if you have a Vite app and you want to start adding SSR, you want to have API routes, you can add the Nitro Vite plugin and you're good to go. So it's another new framework we have, and it serves different purpose, and it's very exciting, and we benefit from it as well at Nuxt. So, and it's led by Puya, who was the creator of Nuxt 3 at that party. He worked crazy on this, and now Nuxt is led by Daniel Rowe, who is doing also an amazing job. So I'm lucky to have found these amazing people and amazing community like you guys. So I hope I answered for Nitro.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also amazing that as a part of developing something that solves one problem, for the case, for example, of Nuxt, you haven't just said, oh, we have solved this problem, this is our product, it's under our, let's say, license, and if you want to have the same, you have to copy it and build it yourself. I decided to extract those smaller, sometimes bigger parts, like Nitro is as a bigger part, but there are also some much smaller packages that are, for example, for the configuration, for merging objects, or for hooks, or for other things that you can just use in basically any kind of framework. So it's like,
and plugin is a good example also.
Exactly.
When we worked on X3, we had to support Vite and Webpack, so we had to create a generic way of creating Vite and Webpack plugins. So, and sometimes, just a small note, sometimes it's great. I mean, we gave a lot to the community and everyone being able to use this library. And sometimes it was also difficult for us because someone had a great idea for a library we used, and we didn't notice, but he actually created a bug because we didn't use it we didn't expect that library to do this. But sometimes it was slowing us down, but I think in the long term it was for the best to give all of these tools to everyone.
Yeah, I think the same. I think right now we could move on to the Vercel part, which was quite an announcement a few months ago.
Topic.
Very hot topic. Very hot topic that usually people who are not from the Vue or Nuxt community, they usually say, oh, I heard that Vercel bought Nuxt. What next? So if you could share some light on it, because I have seen too many people misunderstanding it, what actually happened, what it means for the framework, and basically what was the what at the beginning you felt that, for example, this partnership or this relation, it will work. So what made you think that it's a good, let's say, direction for the company and Nuxt in general?
That's a lot of questions, but that's good questions I need to answer. It actually came from an idea of joining forces with them. Guillermo contacted me and said, hey, would you be interested? I took weeks to think about this possibility, what it would also mean to the community, what would be my terms and our terms as a team within NuxtLabs, to make sure that we don't want to denaturate Nuxt. We want a way to reassure the community and reassure ourselves about the vision. We've seen things about Vercel, Next.js logged in. As I was running NuxtLabs, and NuxtLabs was my company, it's very tricky because you want to do open source, you love open source. That's what makes me motivated every day. But you also need to pay the people to work on open source. So there is this balance to find. We didn't want to call the company Nuxt. At one point, we renamed it to NuxtLabs, and we tried to create products that are not required for you to make an amazing website, but saves you time. It's not easy to be sustainable when you need to pay developers, because developers are they are quite expensive, and amazing developers are quite expensive as well. So, and developers are not the ones that are willing to pay the most for products. So how can you do when you do developer tools? You need to pay developers that are expensive, but they don't want to pay, developers don't want to pay for open source. So we need to find the right balance for this. I was quite happy about the products we had at NuxtLabs. We had revenues. We were almost profitable. But at one point, it was hard to focus on one thing, which was at the end the framework, and I didn't want to split into too many projects. And we were discussing with Guillermo. I've seen back then SvetKit, how they evolved, how they stayed agnostic, and I think this, on top of honestly admiring Guillermo vision on tech. Like I said, I was following Socket.io, Mongoose, his developer experience, and even Next. I don't care about the last version of Next, the app router. I don't use it, but the developer experience, their marketing, their design, it's top notch. And I was like, I think it will also help us become better in terms of marketing, documentation, because it's about explaining well your project and understanding. So collaborating with these people could be nice. And AI, need to talk about AI also. V0 is an amazing product, and I think we wanted at a certain level to start having our to go deeper into the AI landscape, either for code generation or for code understanding, like AI understanding Nuxt. So being able to be in touch with teams working on AI often would definitely level up or gain the AI landscape. So we started chatting, and I was like, okay, let's see what would be the benefits, drawback, and I was actually convinced, and the team were convinced as well about their open web vision, the fact that they want to put Vercel in a way that it's an agnostic hosting platform and not only the Next.js platform, and it fits into this vision. We wanted to keep our autonomy, being able to keep our roadmap, a community-based framework. And I think Svelte Kit is a great example. I had the chance to talk with Rich Harris beforehand. And at the end, we all decided that let's go this adventure. And Vercel is well known for all these open source projects. And so far, I'm very happy about this choice.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Shimon, I think you wanted to ask one question here.
Yeah, so I think that this all definitely makes sense, and I hope, and I think that at least for now, for today, most of the developers have a more solid grasp about everything that happened, everything that also not happened. But it definitely will be coming with, people will be definitely looking with more scrutiny and like maybe looking and trying to gauge the decisions and try to basically understand them better. So maybe with a few quick words from you, what should or will change for Nuxt developers, and maybe what won't change for Nuxt developers going forward?
You mean related to Vercel or just in the future
Yeah,
of
and
Next?
relating basically how should Nuxt developers think about this acquisition? Like, what will change for them for their day-to-day work, or what will not change?
Yeah. Nothing would change for them, honestly. Like, and I think we proved it the last 3 months, and we don't want to. And Vercel doesn't want us to change anything. What they want is to be able to have our knowledge in terms of developer experience to be applied also on their platform. We've been chatting with them on the runtime cache feature, and they were thinking about what could be the best approach for frameworks author to use this runtime cache. Then you talk with the different framework authors and saying, oh, this is, I like it, this I don't like it. And then they go back to work and ask us, what do you think about this? It's this proximity for them that help them create the best platform. But then it's your choice to decide if this is the best platform or not. What you can expect is, of course, as we are collaborating with them on helping them having a great platform. And I always used Vercel since even before I created Nuxt, as I was following Zeit. So I really like that platform. We want to make sure that Nuxt Vercel is a great platform to host Nuxt apps. So this leads to improvements like the workflow package. So if you use Vercel, you're going to be happier, because the thing we didn't support, we are supporting them, or we are going to support them very soon. So you're going to enjoy it. If you're not using Vercel, nothing will change for you. And if you're using Cloudflare, it's the same. Just the Nuxt app package will keep working, but you will be able to deploy on different parts and different providers. So we'll stay agnostic, and we will improve the deployment experience on Vercel.
Sounds great. I think we are safe. But jumping onto that as well. So, how do you see, Sebastian? How do you see the relationship right now between Nuxt and Next? Does it mean that, for example, the frameworks will use, let's say, best practices from each other? Like, do you see, for example, in Next, for example, JS, to use certain features from Next?
Yeah, I'm considering to add the app router to Nuxt. No, I'm not kidding. I don't know about this, but no, I think we have anyway a lot of work on our plates. What we do is mostly discuss about their process, maybe their best practice. How do they document their work? What are their process? Maybe on the design part, how can they gather feedback from enterprise? Something we were potentially lacking. It's for that at high level because I think feature-wise, we used to inspire each other a lot, but now we are at a stage where on the full stack side is different. We plan to have these RPC server functions, but we can read documentation and we can invent features, but on our own. What we can collaborate more and could be on the Nitro part, because maybe one day we can have Next.js using Nitro, but this will take a while. But it might be more on lower level packages. Like how can we share common packages between us? It might be at that level. I think on the feature, it's very oriented Vue and React so far, but who knows? I would love to have Nuxt content being able to work on Next.js as well as Nuxt Studio, Nuxt DB. And it would be quite awesome to import Nuxt DB in a Next.js project. But that's of course not the top priority for me. It's Nuxt users, Nitro users, and we see they have already great solutions on their own. So the Vue community is something that I have in my heart and won't leave for a while.
Yeah, maybe a small comment from me, because I think this is very important to also realize, especially people who are skeptical or afraid of what happened with this Vercel acquisition, is that this is also probably the biggest chance to have more direct collaboration or planning, or especially maybe even shaping the way we work with web going forwards. Because basically, while everyone knows it, and just as you also have said, Sebastian, the frameworks have been inspiring one another. We already did that. That's how open source goes. But there wasn't like direct collaboration, not like, the teams sitting at one table, maybe approaching a certain new feature or a specification for the web. So I think that there is a big opportunity here.
I agree. And there is room for collaboration, and we will save us a lot of time. It can be frustrating, like, oh, I don't have enough time right now. I have like thousands of issues. But if you take just one or two meetings to sit down, at the end, we will save time in the future because we'll be collaborating on one library that we can reuse. And it's been only 3 months we're there, but I'm confident that in the next year, we'll be able to start having a shared library.
Sounds great.
Maybe written by AI. I need to say AI again.
So one last question from my side about this, about the Vercel part. So how do you envision Nuxt place in the, let's say, overall Vercel strategy? Because Vercel is not only about Next.js, it's not only about the hosting, it's also about V0. So how do you envision Nuxt in the broader strategy of Vercel?
I'm working on the framework team at Vercel, so I'm not directly related to the products, but of course, as I was also running a business, I'm interested in this, and I like the shift to the AI cloud, which means that they want to support more backend frameworks, and that's we can see this with the latest announcement. I'm also excited by the workflow support, because that's one of the most painful way when you need to do backend. We used to have a product named Volta, where we need to deal with webhooks, GitHub webhooks, and then you need to have a queue system, and oh god, you need to retry. They find a nice way to make it simple, but still kind of bulletproof, and in a way that it can be also self-hosted, which I also like their direction. Directive, not directive, this is not the subject for me, as long as it saved me time, because with the rise of AI, building apps that you throw away and you create another one, it's going to be more and more. So I like it, the way they frame this. And yeah, that's so talking about AI cloud, more backend framework. I want AI to be able to ship Nuxt apps, but for this, I want AI to be able to ship full stack apps, and being able to give this option for AI to build full stack application that can be deployed on Vercel or other providers. But for me, if I have a one-click deploy that supports database, workflow, AI gateway, and I have to say that I'm very excited by the AI gateway they built, because you can add AI easily to your app. Yeah, that's quite exciting. I still don't have many ideas about what AI apps I can build so far, but at least giving the people the ability to create their next AI app idea with Nuxt is what excites me the most.
Sounds great. So about the future of Nuxt, we all already talked about it a bit in terms of the Vercel stuff, the Nuxt 4, Nitro. But if you could name one thing that you are excited the most that could come to Nuxt in, let's say, 2 or 3 years from now. It's a long period of time, but the thing that it's not something that you work on, for example, today and will be released tomorrow, but something in the long run that we as a community can wait for and anticipate.
Do I really want to spoil an idea that I have?
That's what we are waiting for.
I
We won't
don't
tell
know.
anyone. They'll just hear it from you.
You just mute some part of me. What I would love to see is just pretending to say words, is a Nuxt Assistant. So a way where you have, and it should be able to start locally with local AI models. So you should be able to put to select a model that could run locally or in the cloud using the AI gateway, for instance, or OpenRouter or any others. And then you have similar to what you can have with Cursor, but some an assistant to help you build the app. But I wish to have kind of a chat interface from day one, like the Nuxt Welcome app we have. But then you have a prompt and you can start talking to it. You move to the left or to the right, like Nuxt Studio. So it's a web component, and you can chat and form more of your application. This would be possible once we have a full stack framework with the CMS database, and then create you the website. It's more like an embedded v0/cursor. I don't know if it's a good or bad idea, but Nuxt Assistant being able to tell you, oh, this you have these hints, but suggesting you a one-click to update, if not doing it for you, respecting best practice. So we make sure to have the best performance websites. But yeah, I don't know yet how to properly train AI. We tried RAG, but I know things. I'm staying open to see to this, and once it will click in my brain, that might be the time to do this. But yeah, a Nuxt Assistant. But I want you to enjoy coding before it's gone.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Actually, I planned to ask you more about the AI and the future of Nuxt, but it seems like I don't really need to. You are already, I think, kind of guiding it towards that way. But also on the note of this Nuxt Assistant idea, I can already also picture like modules being able to expose themselves to that, so it's all beautiful and painless to all make it work together. But of course, someone has to first make it. So
yeah,
but
you could call it a
sounds very
Nuxt
exciting.
agent. Like Hugo is working on an MCP module. I'm working on a DB module that is extendable with module. So you can have a Nuxt CMS module that is using the Nuxt DB, or a Nuxt Auth module that is using the Nuxt DB to create its database tables. You can have the Nuxt MCP module that creates tools to communicate with your authentication layer. So you can list your user, you can and then you just have this interface. We have Nuxt UI, which actually no other front-end frameworks has their UI library. So we are adding more AI tools. We also have the editor coming. We're going into this direction. Like when I was doing e-commerce website with Node.js, SPA, I love doing this. Who knows, in 3 years, maybe we'd be like, yes, of course, we're working on this. It was made for this vision, but I don't know this vision yet, but probably it will make sense in a few years.
Yeah, a few years from now, it will all look like a very detailedly planned action.
Yeah, exactly. It was my master plan.
Yeah, it was all planned.
Yeah, but at the end, it's community feedback. It gives you an idea. You clicks with your personal history, create a new idea, and we will build it together.
Definitely. Okay, so maybe considering we are soon approaching our finish of this, is there anything you would like to share with the Vue and the Nuxt community before we wrap up?
Thank you. Thank you for the time, or the energy, for being there since the beginning, for a few years, just a few weeks maybe. Keep pushing, keep using, keep us giving feedback, keep building. It means a lot to me that these projects exist and having such a big community. I do think Vue will get more hype soon, but maybe that will be other news I will share later. It's in my plan. We'll see.
This is the master plan
Awesome.
we talked about. Okay, so one last thing from our side, Sebastian, last question to you. How the listeners can find you if they want to? Should it be Twitter? Should it be Discord? Oh, sure. Should it be X, or should it be should it be Discord or X or LinkedIn or anything else?
Well, they want to. They can find me on X, on Blue Sky, on YouTube, even though I don't post that many videos. Discord, and it's always with @Nuxt. I also have @Nuxt.com, which has all the links. @Nuxt@gmail.com also. @Nuxt@Nuxt.com also. But then feel free to send me an email, to send me a message on X. I think my DM are open, so I'm happy to chat.
Sounds great. Okay, so thanks, guys, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for this episode. Special thanks, Sebastian, to you for joining this episode and sharing not just a bit, but much more than we expected about Nuxt, about Vercel, and about the future. I think we are safe in where the Nuxt is going, and it would be great to see after a few months or after a few years even how the Nuxt evolved during that time. So thanks once again, and see you next time.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye.